I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. It's Wednesday, February 12th. Coming up on the show today, Jim Moore, the go-to guy, is here for his Wednesday visit. We'll get to the go-to guy in just a quick second. Rob Staton of SeahawksDraftBlog.com stops on by. We put the finishing touches on the NFL season. We get his reaction to Klint Kubiak, the hire. Hey, Clint, welcome to Seattle. Thank you. We also will get his thoughts on the NFL draft upcoming on that. And then Ryan Divish, live, well, not live, we recorded him earlier, from Peoria, Arizona, with the latest on Mariners spring training. So all of that coming up on the show today. Also, we'll get you an update on the hockey dad. He has officially been charged with assault. We welcome the go-to guy on from Parts Unknown in Bend, Oregon. I'm broadcasting from the Puck Sports Studios built by Limbach Lumber. They got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbachlumber.com. Jim is in Bend, and he's brought to you by...
Puck, I'm brought to you by a Clean Streak Professional Window and Exterior Cleaning Service, proudly serving Island and Skagit counties for more than 10 years. Clean Streak specializes in so many different services, from roof and gutter cleaning to pressure washing, but nobody's getting on a roof with the weather up in Seattle and that area right now. So just check out their window washing. Get those windows sparkling clean. I check out Twitter today, Puck. I have a picture of my window. It's all streaky, and you can't really see the pine trees. Yeah, you got to do something about that. So if you're up in Island or Skagit County, give Clean Streak a call at 360-395-5748 or visit cleanstreak.com, and Brian Turner and his crew will come out and give you a free estimate.
Look at you. You're an influencer right there 54 minutes ago. Pine trees and sunshine are nice, but check out the dirty windows. Streaks galore. If you're in Island or Skagit County, clean up your windows by visiting cleanstreak.com. Look at that. You're built for this. You are an influencer.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying, if somebody sponsors, steps up and endorses us, sure. I want to try and give them a good bang for their buck. And so, why not throw it on Twitter every once in a while?
I think you're getting Brian Turner and Clean Streak a great bang for their buck.
I hope so.
Loves
Brian's great. He's always, checking in and enjoys the show. And so, yeah, we appreciate that he's a part of the team here.
Well, we appreciate you watching, whether or not you're watching the stream there on YouTube, as we go live every day at 10, or on Twitter. Also on the Puck Sports mobile app. Yes, we do have an app. Download it from your iOS store, or if you have an Android phone, the Google Play Store there as well. When you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, please. Also, you can find the Daily Puck Drop and all of the content that we do here at Puck Sports available on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, your favorite podcast platform. Also, if you go to pucksports.com or click on the QR code on your screen, that's going to take you to the Pucks Posse membership page. Sign up there. Join today. Little as $5 a month. Get a discount if you sign up for a year. You support all of the content that we do at Puck Sports, the Daily Puck Drop, all the free stuff we do, and then also all the VIP content as well, and bonus episodes as well, including starting next week, NFL draft coverage with Dane Brugler from The Athletic, as we go do a deep dive every single week into the NFL draft. That's available to Pucks Posse members. Dane does the single best job of anybody covering the NFL draft. He writes a Bible every year called The Beast. I think it's like 700 pages of it, breaks down every single player. It's amazing. We've had Dane on for years, going back to the radio days. And then also including today, every Wednesday, we have Ryan Divish on. We give you about 20 minutes free of Ryan Divish of a 50-minute podcast. The rest of the podcast, full podcast, available on YouTube and your podcast platforms, available for Pucks Posse members. So don't miss out. $5 a month, especially with baseball starting right now. Yeah, baseball's here. I saw the first video yesterday of Cal Raleigh taking swings in the cage, and I'm saying to myself, I'm back. 90 wins.
Hey, I got
God, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker.
Wait a minute. Before we get to Peoria and Divish,
God,
I got
already
two questions.
excited.
How am I doing so far? How am I doing so far?
On what?
Because I'm trying to fake it like I'm not frazzled. How am I doing?
You're fine. Why? What's going on?
Okay. Well, you know what's going on. I had technical difficulties again, and so I'm trying to act like nothing happened. And yeah, hey, Puck, it's good to be here.
Oh,
great.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, you listen. We'll figure out the mic situation. It's all.
Trying to fake my way through it. My second question is, how come I'm not behind a paywall? Do you not? You think that the free content is enough? I'm kind of offended. You have Divish and all these other people behind the paywall. Do you think I'm not worth that people wouldn't want to pay to hear what I have to say? Is that what you're
No, I think they would. I think they would. I think they would.
I
you got to
don't
put
know.
a little bit. You got to put a little bit behind. I mean, we're trying to make a living over here. We've got great advertisers: Limback Lumber, Restoration One, Georgetown.
And did you know? You know what? You talk about Dane Brugler and Rob Staton and all the research they do. Did you know? And I tweeted it out yesterday. Did you know that 4 years ago I wrote a story for one of the stations that fired me? I wrote a story for them and said that Seahawks should draft Jalen Hurts.
I read it. I saw it.
Okay, so look, I do my research too.
You're unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
They should have drafted Jalen Hurts. Am I wrong?
Well, I can't say you are wrong. No.
You know who they took instead?
No. Tell me.
Darryl Taylor.
Okay, they were wrong. They should have taken Jalen Hurts.
Okay. I don't have anything. I don't have a 700-page draft report, but I just every once in a while I throw stuff at the wall and it sticks. Okay.
Corey checks in on again. If you're watching this live, and even if you're listening to it, you can jump into the chat. Corey checks in, and Corey's an everyday viewer. We appreciate Corey and others like Jeff as well. Jeff, by the way. Jeff, we did ask Ryan Divish. I did ask Ryan Divish your question about places to eat in Phoenix, Arizona. He gives you a great rundown coming up at the end of today's show. But Corey says, let's get a live number going for Jim's technical difficulties every week. 1.5 over/under for next week.
Well,
I'll
Corey,
take the over. Take the over.
Today's issue, we tried using Kathy's brand new Lenovo computer, and everything seemed to work really well until we couldn't figure out where I say we, like it's your issue, Puck. It was mine. I couldn't figure out why the camera wasn't working.
Tell everyone why the camera wasn't working on the brand new computer.
Let me see if I can find. There was a black label up at the top of the computer screen. Like when you buy, apparently when you buy a new computer, they say, well, we're going to have a label over the camera so you can't use it. And if you're a dumbass, you won't notice it because it blends in with the computer screen. And that's why the camera wasn't working. I kept trying to touch the camera and do all these different things. And then I went into Kathy and she goes, well, there's a label up there. Just take the label off.
Wow. Thank God for Kathy.
So Corey's right about that over under, but I think going forward that if I use Kathy's new computer, that there won't be any issues ever again.
Okay. Bert checks in. That's worth the paywall right there. I agree, Bert.
I wouldn't. Would you pay $4 to hear me? I wouldn't. $5?
I would. Yes, I would. I would pay. I'd pay $5 for anything. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's $5 is not even a cup of coffee anymore.
I paid $6.25 for an oat milk latte the other day, and I thought about you, and I honestly
because oat milk, you got oat milk. That's why.
No, the reason I did it was for healthy reasons, and then I was thinking, wait a minute, Puck's only charging $5 a month for all the content he's putting out there.
Oat milk. Do you like oat milk? Yes or no?
I'm trying to.
Why are you switching over from
I don't know.
Cow's milk to oat milk?
I'm trying to get healthier. My blood pressure's up a bit.
I can tell you why your blood pressure's up.
Well, computer issues maybe.
Paint job.
I'm trying to. I've got the Headspace app now. Does anybody out there have Headspace? You know what that is?
I don't even know what that is.
Well,
what
it's really
what is
important.
Headspace?
Mindfulness and meditation is really important.
Oh, okay.
Because doctors think that stress is the biggest reason why you have high blood pressure. It's
Why
not
would it?
necessarily, it's alcohol, it's smoking, it's all that other shit. But that if you're stressed out, that it doesn't help either. So I'm trying to do deep breathing exercises. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, you want to try that?
Derek
Mo?
says drink raw milk.
Drink raw milk? Like what, straight from the cow?
Yeah, yes. So find a cow down there. Bring it to the house and just go outside in the garage and just get right underneath there, just straight in your mouth.
Have you ever drank raw milk? I don't think I have.
You know what? I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. So you're not gonna make the switch to oat milk though.
I've had it. I like it.
Yeah.
But I like I just like regular. But I like whole milk.
Whole milk.
Yeah, I like it. Just give me the full on whole milk. I love whole milk.
Yeah, I did that non-fat milk thing for a while.
It doesn't work.
It's
just
water.
awful.
It tastes like water.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, give me the whole milk. That's what I want, Jim. That's what I want. I want whole milk, and I want my baseball back, huh? Did you? God, I get so excited.
You're such a pro, man. I don't know how you do that. Like
What?
when I was leading the show, I would fumble my way through to, the one Staton always says. He always goes, meanwhile, like.
Oh, meanwhile.
Meanwhile,
transitioning with them. Hey, do you like my hat?
And what is it, Boston Braves or something?
No, it's not the Boston Braves. Somebody asked.
Ballard Beavers.
Ballard Beaver High School baseball team. Shout out to head coach Doug. Doug and I we're playing a little email tag because we're working. The Ballard Little League is working with the high school to put on some like clinics and stuff for the kids. So we met up yesterday, and he brought me this hat and a sweatshirt. But that is a good looking hat. So
that
shout
is
out
a
to
sharp
Doug.
hat.
Isn't that a great looking hat? It's Nike.
Yeah.
Ballard Beavers, they're going to win the whole thing this year. 3A.
You talking about Metro or State
Or the whole thing. Every team is they're loaded. They finished. Oh, I'm gonna butcher where they finished last year. Third, top five. I'll find out. They were
top five in State.
Yeah.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
They're one of the favorites this year. One of the favorites, along with all the regulars there, and all the Metro teams are really good. Like O'Day is good, shocker. Blanchette's good, shocker. But they're probably the best in Seattle and in the area. They're the best public school.
Nice.
So,
well, guy,
yeah.
I'm already missing baseball, man. This is when the junior college season gets underway. They start playing games in February, and I saw some pictures from Pierce College the other day, and I was kind of getting misty-eyed a little bit. This will be the first year without baseball for us. So,
for how long? How long since they were like 7?
Yeah, well, back to Renton Little League days, whenever you start, 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, so it's been 12 or 13 years.
Oh, man, that is
I think
crazy.
I've told you, I'm thinking about, getting a Bend Little League team and coaching or just to get back to the time. Yeah.
You should do it. It'd be great. You'd be great at it.
I'll have to get some coaching tips from you.
Just yell.
Just yell and scream. Okay.
Yell and scream, and it's all good. I want to. Now I'm trying to figure out where they finished, but I think Lincoln won it last year, which is out of Seattle. But yeah, no, Doug's a great guy. So we're getting the high school team, to kind of do some stuff with the kids to, so they look up to these 10, 11.
So it's like a feeder program situation.
No, not really a feeder program. It's just for these kids who are like 9, 10, and 11. Like they look up to these guys. I mean, to them, these high school guys are like gods.
The older kids come down and go through some fielding and hitting drills with them.
Yeah,
and
they'll listen.
This could be you someday.
Exactly right. They'll listen. They'll listen to those guys. They don't like to listen to us.
Oh yeah. No, that's great. That's great. And
So
you got nice hats, nice colors, nice uniform.
It's just great. Yes, all of it. All of check. So check out the Ballard Beavers. They're going to be playing. They're playing at T-Mobile this year too. Where they do those games, or they got selected to play there at T-Mobile. So they're going to be in one of those games this year, which is pretty cool.
That our kids played there, and it was one of their most memorable experiences of high school baseball was to be able to play there where the Mariners play.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of the Mariners, meanwhile,
I know I was setting you up for that.
I mean, I see the video last night. I think I'm watching King 5. I'm watching Sylvie, and he's got the video. He's got Cal in there taking hacks, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm already in.
You're already in?
Just already in. I'm just
but
terrible.
1 minute from now, you're going to be ripping them about something.
I know. I can't help myself. I get excited. Well, because here's the deal. You and I, we've talked about this a lot. And I flipped on the yelling, screaming shows. And right now it's on in the background, whichever yelling, screaming show this is.
They got Mad Dog on today. He's a good yeller and screamer.
So the topic today is Saints hire Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
You know what I love about when the Super Bowl is over? And I know we're going to talk football. I mean, my God, I've got Rob Staton on. We'll be talking to the NFL draft today. And tomorrow, which won't be a live show tomorrow, by the way, will be taped with Garofolo and Dugar. So we still do football. But I get tired of all the football. I like when the football season's over. Don't you a little bit? Just like when it's over.
Well, yeah, I mean, I miss college football. I don't miss the NFL. God, I looked at our home schedule next year. Jesus.
Oh, Oof. For the Cougs?
Yeah. Yeah, not an attractive schedule, but no, I look forward to baseball. I mean, this is when pitchers and catchers report, so it kind of dovetails into that nicely. You know, football season's over. That's good.
I just like the change of, I like the different seasons, and I like the fall and spring and summer and winter, and then I like the different sports. So I love football. Love football to death. I think we just obsess over football way too much, especially in the media. I mean,
well,
God, you worked at a place where 99% of the topics are football.
Well,
like back in
the NFL is just so huge.
I understand.
I feel sorry for Condota and Bell and all these guys. I mean, you never get a break, really.
No, you get no break.
It's nonstop. Whatever the next thing is, Gino's contract, has to be guaranteed by March 18th or whatever it is.
So,
Well, March 18th is just around the corner now.
Yeah.
So,
I like the draft. I think the draft is kind of fun. So we'll talk. We'll have our guys on, and we'll talk the draft and all that. But yeah, I need like a little break for a while after the season's over.
Yeah, I didn't understand the topic about Kellen Moore. Was that a good move for him or not? What does somebody think that Kellen Moore out of Prosser High School is not going to succeed in New Orleans?
I don't know. He's youngest coach now, youngest coach in the NFL. But yeah, good for him. Prosser High School, all the way from Prosser. I gotta remember when he was at Prosser too. I remember him coming over to the Tacoma Dome with his father Tom Moore, and you're like, who the hell is this Prosser team? They've won like a gazillion games in a row. And, they don't stand a chance. And they get there, and they're just zinging the ball all over the turf. And you're like, my God, look at this team. It's a juggernaut.
You imagine how Tom Moore feels today about, his kid taking over there in New Orleans and being an NFL coach. I mean, my God.
And then Kirby was, my God, there was talk of Kirby. I think Kirby, the youngest son, is an offense coordinator at Missouri, I think. And he was rumored to be, well, at least he wanted the job at Wazoo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He wanted to be
I remember his name circulating out there.
Yeah. So it's Tom Moore that Prosser football team. That's kind of a bucket list item. I kind of want to go because it's one of those like Friday Night Light, like big events in Prosser. Washington is like.
Isn't it kind of over by Dan Dornick Field there in Wapato? Is Prosser kind of in the Wapato area?
Okay. Now,
or is it farther toward? Is it more toward the Tri-Cities? I don't know if I've been in Prosser.
No, it's not. No. It's not more by the Tri-Cities. More by
Toppenish.
Yeah. Well, now you know what. Now I don't know.
I
know when I'm driving it.
Washingtonians.
I know when I'm driving by it. It's like you're going to Yakima, though. It's like you're going to Yakima. When you get off 90 and you're going, what is that, 84, and you're going towards Yakima, it's down that way.
Well, yeah, but it's past Yakima, though. I mean, it's not.
I don't know. Why don't you look it up? All right,
not
you put me on the
Ellensburg
spot.
And
I don't know.
You think I want to touch my computer right now?
Oh, I don't want you to touch it. I don't want you to touch anything right now.
We should know where Prosser is, though.
I don't know exactly where it's at.
I
All
mean,
right,
we
I
went to
forgive
school
me.
in Pullman. See how cold it is in Pullman? It was below zero overnight.
I will be leaving for Pullman tonight.
It was below zero.
I know. It's like what? It's going to be like -1 over there.
I saw it was like -2 in Pullman. We never got that cold, I don't think, when we were in school.
Oh, I mean, I for sure it did. For sure.
Below zero?
Yeah.
Spokane's colder than Pullman, though.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that it's gotten below zero when you were in school there. That's a long time ago. I'm not sure you can just recall exactly what the weather was.
Yeah. Okay. Very funny.
No, I'm just saying.
You want me to pull out the fat jokes?
No, I'm just saying that I don't remember exactly what the temperature was.
Huh? Well, it was cold in Pullman, but I always remember it was colder in Spokane usually.
All right.
But you and I, we should be embarrassed that we don't know where Prosser is.
I know. Exactly. It's just
how come somebody
Yakima.
hasn't checked in on your chat line or whatever?
It's by Yakima.
Well, okay. I know, but I drive that way coming down to Bend, you know. You head down toward Goldendale, you go through Wapato. I always look over at Dan Dorning Field when I go past Wapato.
I know what county it's in.
What?
Benton County.
Huh?
Benton County.
If it's in Benton County, it's probably closer to the Tri-Cities than Yakima.
There you go.
God, I'm just riveted with this sports talk.
I did. You brought it up, and I didn't know. I didn't know where we were going to go with the Prosser content here on today's show.
Well,
we can talk about Klint. You want me to talk about Klint Kubiak and the press conference yesterday?
Well, not really, based on your introduction there. What? Hey, Clint's kind of a dull-looking dude. Does he have the voice to match?
Oh my God.
I didn't see any of it. I just read all the reports.
Just read it. Don't watch it. Just.
Is he that boring?
Yeah, he's awful.
It
doesn't mean anything. He could be a fantastic offensive coordinator, and who cares? I'm just saying.
Then why'd you bring it up?
Because it was boring. He's just boring. He's just a very monotone and just like. Not very excited. Not an excitable person. He's not going to win a press conference.
You think Grubby was with Kalen down in Tuscaloosa watching that yesterday? But Kalen, look at this idiot they hired to replace.
Look at this idiot. Have fun with that, McDonald. Have fun with that, mannequin Mike. Down here, I'm down here in SEC Poonland. Have fun up there.
No, I got to admit, I mean, I know that you love that. This is like football. You don't miss football that much, but boy, you can't wait for next year because our coach in Pullman, he wants to run the ball. He wants tight ends. He wants the quarterback under center. Well, professionally, you got that guy in Seattle too. He talked about wanting to have a fullback.
Yeah, sure.
So you got to be in hog heaven. You got the cigarette out, your pants down around your ankles.
Down.
I mean,
yeah, love it all.
You're ready to go.
I like running the football. I had some Coug fan yell at me on Twitter, like, you are such an idiot. You don't know anything about modern day football. Like, because I tweeted out a picture of their recruiting class. And in their recruiting class, I'll find it for you. They have it's nothing but it's a very different recruiting class than I think many fans are used to. Okay?
Well, usually we got skill guys up the yin-yang, right?
And it had one wide receiver. One. And I said, oh, yeah, I found it. Here we go. And how do I get that actual tweet? Dang it. And I just said, hey, times are changing. Good. One wide receiver. That's all I said. And this guy, I'll find, he's like, you clearly don't know anything about modern day football. We can't play that style. And it's just, you're an idiot. And I'm thinking, hey, man, all I said was, I'm just glad that maybe there's a different style of football that's going to be played over there. And I do believe they're not going to run the wing T, fella. But they're going to run the ball.
You pulled out an Ian Furness with a fella.
Well, because Ian's watching and listening right now because he clearly is not going to listen and watch what they have currently on. So, and he knows that. So, well, I mean, come on.
You're taking a shot at the guy that replaced us?
Well, I mean, come on.
You think I don't. You think we're better than him?
I said, well, yeah, I mean, come on. So
I heard he's one of those fast talker guys. You know?
Hey, I just like they got a bunch of offensive linemen, defensive linemen. I'm like, and one wide receiver. I'm like, I just think I like running the football. Running the football is good. It's fun. You need to run the football. And so I don't know. This guy.
Okay, here's what crossed my mind though.
Yeah.
I love the idea of running the football.
Yeah,
I do.
Sure.
You know, you control the clock, you move the chains,
Yeah,
you give your defense time to rest and be ready to go when they're out there.
Here
But
comes the butt.
I did start to think about going back to Mississippi. We're going to go to Ole Miss, and we're going to be going up against an SEC team, and we've got all these South Dakota State kids. They're going to be blocking for us against SEC kids that are 4 and 5 stars. Do you think? I mean, I like the philosophy of running the football.
Take the Cougs plus. Take the Cougs plus.
What are we going to do?
Take the Cougs plus 10.
What are we going to do? Hand the ball off? Chris King will be going, loss of 2. Cougars 2nd and 12.
And Alex Brink, and by the way, people don't know this, but Alex
lost of 2, 3rd and 14. Huh?
And Alex Brink is off of the broadcast this year. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're bringing Craig Ehlo in to do football.
You know what?
Come on, give it to me. Come on, give it to me.
You know what?
Come on, give it to me.
There's Alex Brink can talk.
Hey, give it to me.
Alex Brink, I mean, he can enunciate syllables.
Okay, I'll be Chris King. All right, 1st down and 10 for the Cougs. Handoff goes inside to Leo Palasi. Stuffed again. No gain.
Yeah. Chris, I'm not sure what the Cougars are trying to do. Hopefully, they can make some Chaz. I mean, Chris. Chaz. He went to where's Chaz? Where's
so
Chaz?
Terrible. You're so terrible. You're a terrible person.
God, the other day I was trying to get the radio broadcast for who'd we play Saturday? We almost lost to him. Pepperdine. I couldn't find the radio broadcast. I kept trying to find it. Of course, me with my technical issues. And then I thought, why am I stressed out about trying to find a Cougar basketball game with Craig Ehlo on it? God. When will that stop? We're the Edward R. Murrow School of Communication, and we got that guy as the color analyst? Come on.
I don't know.
Come on, Puck.
All right. So I just, football. Kubiak, he said whatever. I watched a little bit of Kubiak just to circle back on him, and I read it. And
just to make fun of him?
No, a lot of us are boring. Hell, there's someone watching this and listening to this right now going, it's one to talk. You guys are boring. I get it. Okay, I get it.
Touche.
Okay, he just is not going to win the press conference. That's all I'm saying. Not going to win the press conference. But, he just said all the right things. Hey, we want to run the ball. We want to be more physical. Clearly, they're doubling down on Geno as their guy. Loves Geno. Wouldn't have, part of the reason I took the job is because of Geno Smith and then DK Metcalf. I mean, he said it all, and we'll see. But here's the deal. A moment to be serious here. This is a massive hire for both Schneider and McDonald. If this doesn't work out, now we're going to go on a 3rd coordinator if Klint Kubiak doesn't work out. So they better kind of nail Klint Kubiak here. Or, someone's going to pay the price for moving on and finding another new coordinator. How about that breakdown?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah,
you know what? I think you should just defer to Rob Staton in the next segment for some actual football analysis.
I will. That's what I do. That's why I have Rob on.
I got nothing for you when it comes to Klint Kubiak. I mean, I'm in the camp of it doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is if you don't block. So, we'll see. I mean, hopefully they'll make changes up front that'll make Kubiak look better than what he might actually be.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to go to
Is it worth going through these technical difficulties for what I offer to this podcast?
You're fine. You sound fine today. It's okay.
Is it worth it? Is it worth it to you, Puck? Is it
Yes,
really?
it is. It is worth it to me.
All right.
Is it worth it to you?
I'm here for you, man.
Hey, did we talk about the other day? Meanwhile, did we?
No, do it in Stelton's voice. Meanwhile,
I don't know Bob's voice. I don't have Stelton's voice down.
I love Bob. I talked to him the other day. Good guy.
Well, Bob's a great guy. You know what? When I interned there, Bob was just leaving KJR when I interned there in '98. And I think Bob was that summer. That was '98 was when they left the Kingdom to go to Safeco, right? Yeah.
99.
Was it '99?
Yeah.
You sure?
No, I'm not sure.
All right. Whatever the summer was. The summer of '98 or '99. And I think Bob was there, but he just left. I think he went to like ESPN Radio or St. Louis or something.
Yeah.
Or Vegas maybe, but he had my last few months interning there, he was there, and he was kind of like my contact when we'd go to the Kingdom. So great.
No, he's terrific, man. I don't have a bad word to say about him.
No, awesome.
The only thing I get a kick out of Bob with is he will never tell anyone his age. And so it's always a guessing game. We've always tried
really?
We've always tried to guess how old Bob is. And it's so funny too, because whatever his age is, the guy looks like he's 40. I mean, he looks fantastic. He's in great shape.
It's like Neil Scott. Neil Scott, the great Neil Scott with the mechanical penis. Neil Scott does not reveal his age, nor is that his real name, Neil Scott.
Oh, really? He changed his name?
Yeah. So what is he?
Kind of like the guy that's on from 10 to 1 at KJR now.
Yes, exactly the same way.
You gotta wonder
change
about
your name, you're hiding something. So I don't know what it is. That's all I know. That's all I know is when you change your name, you're hiding something. You just don't change your name because like I don't want to change my name.
Yeah.
Did we talk about? Rob's waiting in the green room, but you know what, Rob? F you. You can wait.
No. Rob has actual insight.
No,
come on, dump me.
No, I want to ask you. About. Did we talk about the hockey assault, Dad? Did we talk about that?
No, we haven't. But I heard you talking about it with Canzano, and then your monologue yesterday. You were talking about it.
He got charged yesterday. His name is Uriel Gonzalez. I think he's 42. Charged with 4th-degree assault, a gross misdemeanor. Penalty could be up to 364 days in jail, and a $5,000 fine. He's been banned from USA Hockey rinks in the state pending a hearing. Also banned from any Pacific Northwest Amateur Hockey Association rink. For people that don't know this story, real quick, there was an incident this past weekend, Seattle Kraken Ice Complex, 12U, hockey rec game. A parent's upset, walks onto the ice, walks over to the 2 referees and shoves both of them to the ground because he was upset about something, maybe a non-call on his kid. The 2 referees were teenagers, 14 and 13.
That out of all the worst parts of the story, that knowing that they were kid referees makes it even worse.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, I don't know what caused him to go out there. Probably something that, his son got screwed on a call.
He says, I don't think we haven't really heard from him yet, other than I think that the officer, Scott Hansen, was writing the story for the Seattle Times and said that I think he told the officer that there was a penalty, I think, on his kid that the referees didn't call, or there was a fight that was going to break out. So.
Well, it's one of those things, Puck, where everybody is on the same page where that was so wrong and that can't happen and it can't happen again, that you really need to throw the book at somebody like that.
I agree.
So that you look at it and you think, if you're at a game at some point, you go, God, I remember that hockey dad, man. He had to go to jail for 5 years. I'm not that upset that I want to go to jail for 5 years by making an ass of myself. But that's something, in this case, something like that needs to happen.
I agree with you wholeheartry. I just think that their punishment couldn't be severe enough for this guy. Couldn't be severe enough. You got to stop this crap from happening, then throw the book at this guy, and maybe, just maybe, some of these parents will shut the fuck up during these games.
Yeah.
Just maybe.
And try and realize that those are 12-year-olds out there.
Oh, Lord.
And the outcome of the game doesn't matter in the scheme of things. The thing that bothered me, too, was when he came out there, I looked at the video a couple times. The official, the 13-year-old or 14-year-old, at the very last instant turned around and then got shoved. But I think the guy was going to shove him from behind. I mean, and that's...
he shoved one of them from behind.
I mean, that's just a pussy thing to do.
What if the kids, the teenagers, they're wearing helmets. What if they hit their head on the ice?
No,
But if something severely bad happened to those two referees, you know who's on the hook for that, by the way? The specific Northwest Hockey League and your Seattle Kraken, by the way, because now the question becomes, I don't understand. There's a lot of people that I'm really upset about this story. Where are the other parents of these players during this when you can clearly see this guy's agitated? It's not like he jumps right on the ice right to him. He walks the full length of the ice.
Well, maybe
no one says anything. And then where were the coaches?
Well, maybe they were watching him walk and didn't think that he would do what he was going to do next.
Oh, come on. The second
But how
knows.
about after he left the ice, after you saw what he did?
Well,
Did anybody confront him then?
Well, I don't think the video kind of stops there, but I mean, and the kid, the person I feel the worst for is the kid, because as I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, if that is what his dad did there, imagine what the car rides are home with that piece of shit. Just imagine what it's like.
Well, and then, in the parents' defense, God, you see somebody that angry, and then you also notice from the reports I saw, he's 6'2", 245. I mean, I like to think that I would get in front of him and say something, but what, at 67, I'm going to say, let's go?
I think you would. I think you would.
No, I think you would have, but I don't know if I would have.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah. No, you would have confronted him. I know you. You would have confronted him for sure.
I can't stand that behavior. It irritates me to no end. That stuff of parents and the way that we treat officials now, just all of it. It's just
and I heard you talking about it, Puck, where it's and down here they're looking for umpires.
Of course they are, because no one wants to do it.
People don't want to do it. Why would you do it for what? I mean, a lot of it, Little League I think is still volunteer, or you get paid a little, probably $20 a game or something.
Yeah.
Kids can't throw strikes and you're out there for 2.5, 3 hours. I mean, come on. Who wants to do that?
I'm with you. All right. I got to get to Rob. I can see him in the green room. He's bored. He's wondering, come on, Puck. What are we doing? Let's go.
Come on, Puck.
Puck.
I love Rob.
I've got my draft board. We got to go. All right. Love you. And we'll see you on Wednesday. See if that computer works.
Okay. We'll see you on Friday. All right.
What did I say?
Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Go
Today's
Cougs.
Wednesday. Go Cougs.
Okay. See ya.
There he is. The great Jim Moore. Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. Brought to you by A Clean Streak. All right. Let's talk NFL draft. Ladies and gentlemen, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. It is our guy, Rob Staton. Hi, Rob. Sorry about that. Started getting on a tangent there, and I couldn't shut up. My apologies. Rob is with us. We're going to talk. We'll put the finishing touches on the NFL season. We'll look ahead to the NFL draft. Rob's got his thoughts on Klint Kubiak, also Geno Smith. The game of mentioning Geno Smith in public again. We'll get into all of that. Rob's weekly appearance brought to you by the fabulous people at Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926, committed to delivering the highest quality products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. Get a free quote today, suplinen.com, or give them a call, 253-383-2636. Again, read all of Rob's work at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Video content up on YouTube, Rob Staton Football. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. All right. Did you check out? Did you watch the Klint Kubiak press conference?
Yes, I did. I listened to it on the way home from work yesterday, and I've listened to a couple of other interviews he's done since.
Yeah. And did you fall asleep?
No, I mean, I said yesterday, I think he reminds me a lot of Kyle Shanahan. His voice is very, very similar.
Yeah.
I think it's a different kind of boring, though, because with Shane Waldron, I kind of felt like there were, the lights were on, but nobody was home. And with Klint Kubiak, I don't get that sense. It more feels as if, do you know what? He's not an electric, charismatic Sean McVay, but I do think that he said a lot in a few words and has great clarity on what he's going to try and do. So I was quite happy with what he had said.
And here's the deal too. We were making fun of it earlier. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. No one cares whether or not he's good in front of the camera. It's like, can he actually coach football? Like, Washington State hired a new football coach, Jimmy Rogers. He ain't going to win any press conference, battles with anyone. I think of John Harbaugh with the Ravens. He's, Belichick, You know, none of these. So it doesn't really matter. And I like what he said. And I mean, he said kind of all the right things, probably what everyone wanted to hear. Hey, we're going to be physical. We'll run the football. We're going to use a fullback. Not going to use Byron Murphy. He praised Geno, praised DK. So I think there was certainly a lot to like for what he said yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was interesting as well, the kind of information that he shared with regards to the scheme. So in a separate interview, he mentioned that the zone blocking scheme requires an elite center. And that was probably the most interesting thing I think he said, because the Seahawks clearly don't have an elite center. And if this is going to work, they're going to have to invest in a center. And there has been quite a few pods that I've listened to and I've seen sort of stuff written suggesting, well, maybe they'll just roll with Oluwole or Timmy, which, you know, it's not an improbable scenario. But when you hear the new offensive coordinator say this requires an elite safety an elite center to work, I've just got a feeling they're going to try and upgrade there. So yeah. I would imagine that, look, 2 years ago they signed Draymond Jones, first day of free agency. Last year they made a big splash to keep Leonard Williams. I've got a feeling that the first day or the second day of free agency, Puck, we're going to see the Seahawks have signed one of the two big free agent centers, and that is
who are they?
Drew Dolman, who is at Atlanta, 26 years old, perfect zone blocker, graded in the top 5 for centers for PFF, 6th best zone blocking offensive lineman in the league, great age, perfect signing. If you can't get him, you pivot to Ryan Kelly, and they are the two guys.
Kelly, what happened to Kelly? I mean, Colts, but did he get injured? Was he dealing with some injuries?
He's had some injuries. He didn't have the best season last season. He had a much better season the year before in terms of zone blocking. But the Colts drafted a guy called Tanner Bortolini. I think it was round 4 a year ago, and they were kind of preparing for life after Ryan Kelly, knowing his contract was expiring. So I think he's going to be available. He's 32 in May, so he's towards the back end of his career. He definitely won't be a long-term option like Drew Dolman could be. But if you need a really good center, you need to go and get someone who's been there, who's done it, who can call the protections. Ryan Kelly can do that. So I think you go for Dolman. If you can't get him, you go and get Ryan Kelly.
Hey, I love it, man. I love it. I'm with you. We've talked about this many, many times. I mean, we love building, I think, from the inside out when it comes to a football team. So you go and get one of the two highly rated centers on the free agent market in. It reminded me on this one on just thinking of Olu with Timmy here for a second. Was he strictly a center in college? Did he play any? He never played guard, right?
He was a center, and then he transferred to Michigan at the end of his career, and he was basically a very solid center, unspectacular.
Just wondering if he could switch over, if he could play guard at all. Just another option, just in case if it's available to them. Obviously, you need a backup center there as well. But I'm just wondering if you could transition him to the guard position.
He's a good backup center.
Yeah, sure.
But he's not an elite center. That's what Klint Kubiak says he wants. So I think they're going to go after it. And I think they will. And that will set up the rest of the offseason then. Then you can go and look at what options there are at guard in the free agent market. Yeah. You will have the draft. There's a lot of options in the draft, not just in the first round. So I think it would set everything up for the kind of offseason they need.
Feels like a lot of depth with the line when it comes to the NFL draft.
Yeah, there is. And I've been looking at this. So everybody's projecting like the Seahawks to go with an offensive lineman in the first round, understandably. But if they were to make a couple of interesting signings on the offensive line, and there are some things they can do at guard as well as center, but I think the center is the one that you get out of the way first, then, like we've talked about, it could be Tyler Booker. It could be Armand Membo. It could be Kelvin Banks Jr., in the first round. But if it's not, there are some perfectly good, I've been writing about this today, zone blocking offensive linemen who are available. There's a couple of Iowa guys. I don't know about you, Pog, but I'm always down for drafting an offensive lineman or a tight end from Iowa because they just seem to work.
100%.
So you've got a couple of guys there, Jennings Dunker and Connor Colby, who are just perfect zone blockers, who are tough, gritty. The kind of players that I think the Seahawks have not drafted enough of over the years. Their offensive linemen have tended to be more upside types, bigger bodied. I think these guys are just, they're gritty. They get in there. They do a job. In Iowa last year, they had this incredible run where they ran for over 200 yards 8 times in 2024. And I want offensive linemen who can do that. And then you've got other players, Gray Zabel, who everybody talked about after the Senior Bowl, Jack Nelson at Wisconsin. You've got the 2 Georgia guards, so that you can get options in round 2, round 3, round 4. And quite frankly, I would be down for multiple picks on the offensive line, irrespective of whether you actually sign linemen. Get some depth, get some competition.
Yeah.
Let's make this a priority.
Yeah, because the identity, and I think we kind of touched on that. You've touched on that on the website as well. Is they've got it. It's one thing to talk about their identity, but they've got to have their identity, right? They've got to go out and acquire their identity. Can't just keep talking about it. Go out and do something about it. Words are one thing, but they need action when it comes to their identity.
Well, we just see the same thing every year. Whether it was Pete Carroll, Mike McDonald, John Schneider has been the consistent. This talk of being a team that nobody wants to play. And I love all that stuff. Every time Mike McDonald says, we want to be a team that everybody hates to go and travel and face at Lumen Field. And then you watch the team play, and they are a finesse team. And they don't look tough and physical and ugly to play against. And I think now is the time. Let's see some action. So what does that look like? It does mean the kind of moves we're talking about on the offensive line. It does mean getting some grit and some toughness up front with these, Iowa linemen, Wisconsin linemen that I'm talking about here. But it also means, and Klint Kubiak mentioned this, go and get a fullback. If you want to play this brand of football, go and sign a fullback. There's a guy in Baltimore who's a free agent, Patrick Ricard, perfect for them. Go and add him as a fullback. If you want to play this brand of football, you need an absolute monster of a blocking tight end. There's a guy called Jackson Hawes at Georgia Tech. He's going to be a later round pick. If you need someone to catch passes, you've still got Noah Fant under contract. You've got AJ Barno, had a good rookie season as a pass catcher. Go and get Jackson Hawes in and just say, right, when it's short yardage in the red zone where we struggled last year, you're going out there, you're going to hit someone in the face. And if you want to play that brand of football, you have to actually make the moves to do it. So that's what I want to see. We're a couple of weeks away from the combine. We're then going to see free agency. We're then going to have the draft. I want this to be a statement of who the Seahawks say they want to be. Finally delivered about 8 years after they said they were going to do it.
Yeah, and then, it's because remember, you got the famous quote or the famous line from John Schneider saying, about interior linemen. They get overdrafted, they get overpaid. But that's exactly what's been that's been their Achilles heel for a decade.
It has. I think that's quite an interesting comment to revisit today, I think, because when I was watching that Super Bowl and you're watching the Eagles defensive line really having its way with Trey Smith, and you're thinking, this is a player who might get 23, 25 million a year if he's lucky in free agency. And I didn't feel like you were getting 23, 25 million dollars worth of play in that Super Bowl. He can't do it on his own. They had to move Joe Tooney to left tackle, but the Eagles dominated that line. So I think that kind of a comment is in reference to that. And I know that most Seahawks fans, and I'm not against it either. If they sign Trey Smith, I'm not going to come on here with you, Puck, and start complaining that they invested in the offensive line. But it does speak to kind of what I think John Schneider's talking about. That's fine. You can still spend a bit of money on it, though. You can get a center. I think if you go and get Drew Dorman, it might cost you $15 million a year. That'd be more than Seattle has spent on any center ever. He'd be the second highest paid center behind Creed Humphreys, which feels a bit about fair for where he is. But you've got to go and do something like that. And then you have got to be prepared to draft offensive linemen. Can I tell you one thing, though, that I think is perhaps encouraging? So Christian Haynes did not have the rookie season that we were all hoping for. But I went and had a look at his zone blocking grade when he was at UConn as a rookie, and it's an 89 grade. So he was a very good zone blocker. So I just wonder whether this could be the best thing for him. I've kind of written him off. I think a lot of people have written him off after what happened. I just wonder if year 2 for Christian Haynes, he could get a second chance and he could land a starting spot at right guard.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to write. It's always hard to write anybody off after a year. And I think offensive linemen, I think that transition, especially the level and the quality of play that he was going up against too, that's a big jump. I mean, UConn, listen, it's a D1 program, but what he was facing and then what he had to face as he got into the NFL level, I mean, that's a huge difference. It's not like he's playing in the SEC and going to that. But yeah, I mean, listen, he comes back, he's going to be challenged because this is his career, right, Rob? I mean, his career is on the line. If he doesn't turn around this year, he's going to find himself out of the league real quick. And so I think when you put that type of pressure on someone that young of an age, we'll see what kind of he's made of and if he can turn around and get himself into better shape and then just make a new impression on a new offensive line coach and a new coordinator.
Absolutely. He needs to rocket up his arse. But, this is maybe the coaching staff that he needs, to come and get the best out of him now. And maybe they can turn over a new leaf and say, look, forget last year. That's gone. Now is your time. And if he could come in and even be average at right guard, because they didn't have average at any point last season, then that's an improvement. And if you can get a really good center, and if you can get a guard, and there's a whole bunch of things you could do. I'm just interested to see what the Chiefs are going to do with Joe Thuney. And are they going to want to keep Trey Smith, who's a lot younger, and switch one salary from one lineman to another? Would that make Joe Thuney available via trade? And I'm kind of was wondering about this today, thinking of things in my head. How could you get him to Seattle? I just wondered. There are some free agents, cornerbacks out there. There are some good cornerbacks in the draft. Maybe you chuck and Reek Woolen. I don't know. Maybe you just swap. They need a cornerback. You need an offensive lineman. Woolen obviously has amazing potential. It's a young player versus a very old player who's 32. But if you do not think you're going to end up paying Reek Woolen, and I'd be very, very, very cautious of doing that because he's not shown a level of maturity so far.
Yeah, there's the risk there for sure.
But if I was to say to most Seahawks fans now, you've got to go and find a cornerback in free agency, and you've got to trust Mike McDonald to go and find a cornerback somewhere. But you get Joe Thuney and you get Drew Dorman to play your offensive line next year. I think most people would go for it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there's different ways that people look at like building an NFL team or any football team, but you and I see it the same. I just inside out. And I think you can find those. It's not to say like guys like Woolen and defensive backs and corners and all that aren't valuable. Of course they are. We watched it up close and personal, but you got to commit. And that was my biggest takeaway from the Super Bowl. You have got to commit to building on the defensive line and the offensive line. That's why the Eagles won. I mean, that's just why they were able to dominate that football game, especially from a defensive standpoint. I mean, we're talking offense here, but when you have that type of pressure on a quarterback and you don't blitz one single time and you just have four guys getting after you, I mean, it's an absolute game changer. And then you watch them, what they did offensively. I know Barkley didn't have the greatest game in the world, but you saw the time that Jalen Hurts had to throw. The only time he ever really got in any pressure was just because of him putting pressure on himself of holding the ball on too long or walking into a sack. But he had time to throw. And
were encouraged, though. I was encouraged watching that. It encouraged me watching the Eagles do to the Chiefs because I don't think the Seahawks are going to. Because I don't think the Seahawks are going to find Patrick Mahomes too. I don't think anybody else is.
Oh, I see.
Like Patrick Mahomes is elite. He's one of a kind. You're not going to find a player like that. And if he wins it every year, the idea of having to find someone of that quality to challenge him is scary. But when I look at the Eagles' defense, they don't have Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa off the edge. They have edge rushers who are very similar, I think, to Boya Mafe and Derek Hall. The Nolan Smiths, the Josh Sweats are not scary defensive ends. They have some good interior defensive linemen. Obviously Jalen Carter's had a big impact there, but the Seahawks have Leonard Williams. Yeah. We hope that Byron Murphy's going to become a very good player. I would like to see Jaron Reed come back. So I think there's some similarities there. Zach Bowlen's had a great season, but Ernest Jones showed some promising things, and maybe he will come back. Cooper DeJean's a very good player, but so is Devin Witherspoon and Julian Love. So I actually looked at that Eagles defense and thought, I don't think the Seahawks are a million miles away there. And then you look on the offense, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, same draft, same school, best friends. They're similar. Devonta Smith, Jackson Smith and Jigba is a major difference there. Obviously, Saquon Barkley's in a class of his own. Yeah. But Ken Walker's still a very talented back and could perhaps do some of the similar things, maybe a Paul Roman's version of Saquon Barkley. I don't think Geno Smith is a million miles behind Jalen Hurts. And I think there are some quarterbacks in this draft who have got a similar backstory, if you want to say, to Jalen Hurts, who could be developed over time. The one striking difference between the Eagles and the Seahawks is the offensive line. And if you can get that offensive line fixed, then I don't think the Seahawks are a mile away from the Eagles. The Eagles lost to the Seahawks last season. They were awful in the second half of the year. The coach was going to get fired. Everyone was going to get fired.
He's going to get fired this year.
They had one really good offseason and turned it all around. So encourage me. I don't think the Seahawks are miles and miles and miles behind the Eagles. The one thing is they're miles behind on the offensive line. So fix that, and we can have a conversation about maybe the Seahawks.
What store do I go to fix that? Is there an offensive line store?
Yeah, I wish you could just order a great O-line on Amazon. That would be great.
How do you think this offense, when you look at what Kubiak, when we study maybe what he did at New Orleans and what he's done in the past at Minnesota, how does this take advantage of Geno Smith's best qualities, you think?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he does that, because this will annoy a lot of people, but I kind of have the feeling that even if you improve the situation around Geno Smith, I still think Geno has got it in him to have the occasional, what I would call a brain fart.
Sure.
The turnovers have been there throughout his career. And I think people sometimes think if you take the protection worries off him and put it on the center's shoulders, which is an aspect of this scheme, or if you can just be a bit more connected with play action, that he's suddenly going to turn into Joe Burrow. And I'm not of that opinion. So what I do think they'll be able to do is obviously that, if they can produce a running game, it takes a bit of pressure off. If they get play action working, Geno up until last season was very good at play action. And he obviously has the physical tools to stretch the field. And we saw Klint Kubiak do that masterfully at times last year with two different receivers. So if I was DK, I'd go and get Marcus Valdes-Scantling, just because of what he did with the Saints at the end of last season. It kind of revived his career. Bring him in as the third receiver once Tyler Lockett is gone. Stretch the field, attack, run the ball. That is something that I think a lot of quarterbacks would have success in. And Geno Smith has got the arm and the play action qualities to be good in that. So he's got everything there to have the best year of his career if they get the O-line fixed.
Yeah, that's what, when I look at this offense and being described and knowing what they're going to run, the one thing I do get excited when it comes to Geno is I don't think they took advantage enough of play action with him. Yeah, because of his arm strength and how well he can push the ball downfield. I mean, I love play action. I mean, even if you don't run the ball, I love play action. I just love it. I love play action in a screen game. Give it to me all day long. All right, put it in a big bowl and I'll eat it all up. And so I think he's got a chance to have a really bounce back year. I mean, I know he put up numbers that were better than in his entire career of this past season, but the glaring thing was the red zone. Part of the reason the numbers were up because they were just throwing the ball all over the place. But I think he's got a chance of having an even more efficient, explosive type season this year with him. But you're right. I mean, the red zone is a problem for him. He's got a chance to, where he plays really, really good, and then he'll revert back to New York Geno.
That's always been around the corner for him, I'm afraid. And he even in his best final year at West Virginia, it was great 6 games, average 4, bad 3 games. That's the way it's been with him. So I don't think he's going to suddenly become an amazing, flawless, great player at the age of 35. But he's going to be back. The Seahawks have made that very clear with their messaging in this week that he is going to be back. I imagine that they're saying what they're saying because they feel very confident that a compromise agreement is forthcoming. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if before the combine, Puck, we hear of a contract extension, which gives him a bit more money this year, but lowers his cap hit. Seahawks retain that flexibility for next year to move on if needs be. And as I told you last week, I really, really think they are going to draft a quarterback this year, and that quarterback is going to be developed and potentially would take over 2026 or 2027.
You wrote about this yesterday, just along those lines of Geno. Why you think what the Seahawks are saying publicly about Geno in the media. Why do you think, because this approach last year where it was like praise, Drew Lock is much. It was so odd last year about how much they praised Drew Lock. It was nauseating how much they praised the guy. What do you think the strategy is this year? Why have they gone out of their way to talk Geno Smith, up so much? You got Mike McDonald doing the interview with our buddy Aaron Levine at Q13. You got the situation yesterday. I mean, what did McDonald tell Aaron Levine? What was I wrote it down. I got to remember. I got to find it where I wrote it down. Where he says he can't understand why people don't think he's going to be the Seahawks quarterback. He's like dumbfounded. I don't even understand what you people are thinking. Kubiak saying yesterday, hey, part of the reason I took the job is because of Geno Smith. Why do you think they got the gas pedal so far down on their praise for Geno publicly?
I mean, I know what my counter question would have been to Mike McDonald on that. Well, the reason people think that, Mike, is because when you were asked about it at the end of the season, you were like, I guess he'll be back.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly right. You're the one, the reason that people are wondering if he's going to be on the team.
And then Geno Smith, when asked, he's like, whether I'm here or it's somebody else or something, paraphrasing a little bit, he said something like that. So that's why people are talking about it. I think the reason they're doing this, and it's the same reason they did it with Drew Lock last year. I think they thought, let's butter Drew Lock up a bit, and he might feel like he'll come back and he'll have a legit chance to compete. And I don't think Drew Lock was sold on that and thought, I'm going to go to the Giants. I've got a better chance to start there. And I think what they're doing now is, I think they think being non-committal and looking like they're not that bothered about Geno is a hindrance in negotiations. And what they probably think is saying, we believe in the guy, this is the guy, is going to have a much more positive impact. That they're then going to go into negotiations and say, look, we believe in you, we want you here. There isn't a bunch of offers elsewhere. If we cut you, you're not necessarily going to get a contract like this. Come on, let's do this together. Let's finish the job, finish what we started, and let's go and do this. I also think they must know privately that this is heading in the right direction, because they wouldn't be speaking this positively if Geno was giving them the feeling that they might just have to cut him in a couple of weeks. That'd be preposterous, wouldn't it, to cut him now, having said all of this. So I think they're heading in that direction. But there is one other thing. I think once they've got this done, I think they will continue to promote Geno Smith. Everything that you see on social media will have a picture of Geno Smith on it.
Because they did it after the Super Bowl, right? Was that their first pick? Their first post after the Super Bowl was, hey, we're getting ready for next year, and it was a picture of him.
I think we'll have everything. I wouldn't be surprised if Geno suddenly starts doing a radio show every week or whatever. It's going to be a Geno fest. And I think the reason is because they want to set up a smokescreen. I think they want the league to think that Geno is, without question, the guy. Therefore, the picks come around, teams are not fearful as much as they might be of the Seahawks drafting a quarterback, because I think they have got in their mind 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 quarterbacks that they like, and they too, I think they're going to take one.
I saw a video yesterday. Was it not Daniel Jeremiah? It was... Oh, God, he was on ESPN. He's not on ESPN anymore. Todd McShay.
Oh, yes.
I think he loves, is it Tyler Shuck at Texas Tech?
I saw those.
Or is it Louisville now?
It's he's always been everywhere, hasn't he?
God, he has. He's Oregon, Texas
Tech. For everybody.
Yeah, and he was like, he couldn't shut up about him. He's like, this is the most talented. I think he said this is the most talented passer in the draft.
Well, that's quite a thing to say. He definitely didn't look like the most talented passer at the Senior Bowl, so I don't know about the whole draft. And at the Senior Bowl, there were 1 or 2 instances where he wasn't on the same page, and that's understandable. They don't play with each other all the time at the Senior Bowl, but he didn't stand out in the way that Todd was suggesting there. But I understand what the wider point it was making with this series of tweets, because the videos were showing somebody with arm talent who makes a lot of plays, and if you watch the highlights videos of Shuck at Louisville, there's a lot of plays like that. And he is someone who I would put on the list. He's 26, so he's an older player, but he's not 30, so it's not that bad. I don't think that I would put him ahead of Will Howard and Ewers and Riley Leonard in terms of the pecking order. Maybe Jackson Dart's ahead of him as well. But I definitely think that he is one of them. I think those 4 and Shuck are the players that I'd look at. And whether they take one at 50, whether they trade down a bit from 50 or trade up a bit from 82 or take one at 82, you get my point. Like if they trade down from 18 maybe and get an extra third, I think they're gonna take one of these guys, and it has to be day 2 because their next pick is at the end of the 4th round. It's a comp pick, so unless they acquire extra stock, if they're going to take a quarterback this year who is worth having, it's going to be round 2 or round 3. And I just think this is going to be the year. They don't have a bunch of holes to fill. They just have that offensive line really. There's going to be value to have at other positions in free agency. It's a pretty interesting free agent list. Yeah. And they're going to get those. They've got 3 picks in the first 3 rounds. I just think one of them is going to be a QB. And they're going to have that guy potentially as the future of the franchise, but not guaranteed.
I want to believe you. I feel like Schneider's going to do it to us again. We're going to talk about it leading up to the draft. We're going to talk about it during the draft, and the draft's going to end, and they're going to go up there on Sunday afternoon or evening, and they're going to be like, well, it didn't fall to us. We just couldn't find a guy. Just didn't fall to us again this year.
Can I just say that? I'm almost at the point, Puck. I'm hesitant to say this because I'll look stupid if it doesn't come off.
Oh, dear.
But, well, exactly. I don't really know what they're waiting for if they're not going to go this year. I know this sort of the narrative has been, and I've shared this narrative, is that it's not a great quarterback class. But again, like Will Howard, I was looking at the stats. Do you realize that? So they have quarterback rating, don't they? And they have QBR, and QBR is the ESPN one, which kind of dictates it's everything. It's not just the passes.
Yeah.
And Will Howard had like a 96 QBR in 4 playoff games. He was nearly perfect in the playoffs. Perfect. Riley Leonard's QBR was like 89. So you watch those games. They're the big games. They're the games that matter. And they're converting big third downs. They're elevating their team. They're getting them to the championship. Notre Dame were not supposed to be there. They were in parks of Riley Leonard. Will Howard did what C.J. Stroud, McCord couldn't do at Ohio State, won the national championship. You know, these players they're big, they're athletic. That fits for John. They're mobile. You can imagine them in the scheme. I'd throw Ewers into that mix. I think that to some extent you could imagine Dart in this system. Shook. You know, I'm kind of at the point, like, if you're not going to take one of these guys, like, what are you waiting for, man? You're the guy who traded with Drew Lock. You traded for Sam Howell. You traded for Charlie Whitehurst. You signed Matt Flynn. If any of these guys aren't good enough, no one's going to be good enough. So I think they're going to. I'm going to say on the 12th of Feb 2025 that when we get to the 1st of May or whenever it is the draft's finished, the Seahawks will have drafted a quarterback.
Okay.
Put it in ink.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
Okay. I hope. You know what? And I don't even care if the guy's good. You know I just want him to draft a guy just so we can just talk about it. I just draft a quarterback for the love of God. Just somebody that, and you know what? See if it sticks against the wall. And if he's no good, then he's no good. Fine, but just draft and develop. God, and this is a problem for everyone in this league. When we talk about quarterbacks, it's like everyone's got to pick a guy in the top 5. If you don't pick him in the top 5 or top 10, it's not worth it. Draft and develop, draft and develop, draft and develop. And there we used to do that. The league used to do that. And we just don't do it anymore. You know, and it's and that this team doesn't do it. It's never done it. And I just think that you think back to those, and he came from the system that did it. Green Bay was perfect at it. And a guy that he highly respects, Mike Holmgren, that should have been in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, did it and drafted and developed and found multiple quarterbacks, including, think about it at one time. He's got Kurt Warner on his staff. He's got Mark Burnell on his staff. He's got Matt Hasselbeck there. These guys are all starters. Drafted, developed, and then had them on the practice squad and had them, work at their craft. And then at one point, hey, is it time to, move them on and give them starting roles? And they did, and they all succeeded.
And you can always talk about the next quarterback draft, but the good players, like everyone says about Arch Manning, if Arch Manning's 1/10 as good as everybody thinks he is, he's going to be like first overall pick.
Right.
And these other guys are going to go early, and the Seahawks are never going to be in the top 5 barring like a catastrophe to be able to pick these players. And look, you just have to sort of balance this out. For this draft, finally, there is a middle class of quarterbacks in a draft. And people, I think that people are sleeping on these quarterbacks, by the way, because you'll chat to other people and they'll say, they're round 4, round 5. And, okay, whatever. I think there is a middle class of quarterbacks that are capable of playing in the NFL. They're not the finished article, but as you just said, you're drafting them to develop. And if you're a team that is prepared to trade for Sam Howell, you've got to give these guys a chance as well.
I agree. We got a question for you from Citizen Salt. Max Brosmer, yeah. He's from Minnesota, right?
He is. It's something I've talked about a lot on the blog. Okay. He had a terrific season. And he is the one player who takes most of his snaps under center. So he's doing a lot of the pro stuff. He's play action. He elevated the team. They love him at Minnesota. Like the fans are devastated that he only had 1 year of eligibility left, that he couldn't stay there. And he made some really good throws. The sort of the word on him is that he's physically not that amazing. He's not big. He does have a reasonable arm. It's not It's not a weak arm, but it's not a blistering cannon. But I thought he played very, very well last year. He didn't have a good Shrine game, though. He looked a bit like a fish out of water in the Shrine Bowl game itself there, which I think has sort of knocked confidence in him. But the thing I always said during the season was he would be a good bet as a late round chance for a team who uses the Shanahan system. And that's what the Seahawks are using now. So if it gets to round 5, 6, and you haven't taken one, why the heck not? At the very least, I think he could be developed into a good backup.
Yeah, you think about this as we just kind of wrap it up. Think about like Brock Purdy for a second. This guy's the last pick in the draft. Last pick in the draft. And he's about to get paid. Whether you think it's right or not, that he's going to get paid. He's about to get paid $50+ million. And it does not have to, the guy does not have to be taken in the first 10 picks. Just doesn't have to happen. You can find guys like any other position. Yes, the higher they're drafted, usually the better they're going to be, obviously. But you can just find guys. So listen, everyone's, Rob, your point is well taken. Everyone's panning this draft for quarterbacks, and maybe there's a couple guys in here that work out and be quite well.
Very final thought is, what are you looking for? You're looking for winners. You're looking for guys who are good on third down. You're looking for guys with an arm. You're looking for guys that can move around, who can offer something as a running threat. They're not statues. And good character, good football character, good leaders. There's 4 or 5 of those guys in this draft. Go and take one.
Okay. All right, you can check all of Rob's work, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Watch his videos. He's breaking down draft picks. He had his first interview series, I believe. You talked to the Nebraska defensive lineman, Ty Robinson.
Yeah, Ty Robinson, he's a dude.
That's up there on Rob Staton Football on YouTube. Please go there, subscribe to the channel. Go check out all of his NFL draft interviews. Again, all the work up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. You're the very best. Appreciate it as always. And have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll talk to you next week.
See you next week.
There he is. Rob Staton. Again, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Go check it out on YouTube. It will be separate. It will be a part of the Daily Puck Drop, but also we separate Rob's weekly appearance there as well. When you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel as well. And, of course, on the podcast platforms, the Rob Staton Show podcast will be up on the Daily Puck Drop on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Big thanks to Superior Linen Service, family-owned and operated since 1926, serving and delivering the highest quality products to the Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today, suplinen.com, and give them a call, 253-383-2636. Rob Staton from SeahawksDraftBlog.com, and of course, you can always check everything up at pucksports.com. All right, Ryan Divish, our weekly chat with Divish is coming up next, brought to you by Chalet Bowl. And again, with Divish, new this year, it's about our weekly appearance and podcast with Divish, about 50 minutes long. We're giving you an edited version. This is around 18 to 20 minutes of Divish, is where we talk about the bullpen. One of the biggest question marks heading into the 2025 season, the bullpen, what they're going to do with it, how's it going to look, guys bouncing back from injuries, and did they do enough in the offseason to address the bullpen. This is a vital part of this team, has been for the last few years, especially of how many one-run games these guys play in. Full interview, the full podcast of nearly 50 minutes is available to Puck's Posse members. $5 a month gets you in. You get a discount for a year. It's the best deal in all of the land. Listen, if it's too much, financial problems, whatever, give me shout me an email, send me an email, puck@pucksports.com, and I'll take care of you. All right? Here it is, Ryan Divish, our weekly chat brought to you by Chalet Bowl. He's from Peoria, Arizona. He's made his way down to spring training, and we talk, and the conversation starts here with the bullpen, the health of Andres Munoz, and the question marks of the bullpen for 2025.
Yeah, like so many of these games are lost in the 6th and 7th inning, or, when you're winning one-run games, it's like when you have let's say, you're down a run going into the 7th or 8th, it's about keeping it at 1 run so it gives you a chance to come back. I think a lot of times last year we saw a lot of inherited runners score, it's one thing to look at their ERA or whatever if they didn't allow an earned run, but if the inherited runner that they had, somebody else goes on somebody else's ERA, it still scores. Like Trent Thornton, it's kind of crazy. You look at his stuff, when you look at kind of how he does it, it should be better than maybe the numbers show, but for whatever reason, in leverage situations, he gives up contact. He has the bad walk. Maybe it's just not like where he fits. You know, maybe he's more of that 6th or 7th inning guy coming after the starter. I think Scott Service used to label it the pivot guy. But you remember guys like Justin Topa and guys like that would pitch in that role and then, you know, kind of grow from there. So I didn't even know, like, you know, they called it the Steckenrider pile last year, Steckenrider bucket. But like the pile of relievers that they bring in, I don't know if there's anyone that's like, I'm picking them. Like there's to be that guy that emerges. I mean, the one name, not Neftali Feliz, who's like 107 years old and hasn't pitched in like 3 years, is back. But Shintaro Fujinama, he's a Japanese pitcher. If you recall, he was the guy with the A's for a while. He threw like 97 and had no idea where it was going. He hit like 3 Mariners players.
I don't remember him at all. No.
Oh man, he throws like 97 and it's got nasty movement and everything. But literally, like any other Japanese pitcher that can really command, this guy is like Wild Thing Vaughn, just spraying.
Perfect. He's our guy.
But I mean, like, if there is somehow they can harness that, if the Mariners, if their pitching lab can kind of get him some command, then, you know, maybe that's the case. The one thing is too is like it's inefficiencies or whatever that's kind of what everybody thinks. It's the lab fixes their mechanics or a pitch or something. A lot of times what their pitching guys do is just look at the success rate of certain pitches and certain aspects and say, look, just throw this 25 or 30% more, throw it in these counts, you'll have more success. So maybe one of these guys that they've picked up on waivers, they're looking at and saying, hey, you need to do this. If you do this, you'll have more success.
What about a couple of guys? I mean, and the thing that they've done, and we've discussed this before, they have this amazing ability to find guys that we don't know anything about, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that guy was really good. I mean, this has been, you know, of all the criticism of this front office, one thing that they have done well is with their bullpen. They have been able to find guys, and with their pitching lab and all of their expertise in that department, they've found guys and been able to develop them and have been able to at least always squeeze out a year or two from these guys, and then, you know, they'll pivot to the next person. But, you know, as Jude pointed out in his story, I mean, that ERA last year for this bullpen, the highest since they've had since 2001. Most home runs per 9 innings in the last 5 years. And then from August 1st, and everyone could see this, I mean, where they tired down, and their bullpen was like 29th out of 30th in Major League Baseball, just as they kind of wore down. So they're going to need these guys, the guys that have been injured, to come back and hopefully be as good as they once were, and then have some surprise guys in that bullpen. I'm curious about some of the guys that we should keep an eye on, who are right now are in the minors, who are coming up, who they once were starters, now they're going to try and put in the bullpen. Who are some of the guys that Mariner fans, as we get into spring training, start reading all of your work and Jude's work, when the games start on the Game Changer webcast, who should they be looking at out of that bullpen? Starters who they're going to try to convert into bullpen arms.
Well, I mean, I know Adam listed Brandon Garcia as a potential candidate. I mean, he's lefty, throws hard, and he's considered one of their more ready starting pitching prospects. And he was pretty coveted last year at the trade deadline. Lots of teams asked about him. I think what they'll do, he'll stretch out as a starter. As far as I know, he's going to stretch out as a starter during spring training. But like if he pitches well in that role, and maybe they look at, you know, maybe Taylor Saucedo or Gabe Spire not pitching as well this spring, they may turn to Garcia and have him pitch in the bullpen for a little bit. I mean, like, I don't think that he's going to be a full-time conversion to reliever. You don't usually do that with somebody that young, but
he's a big kid, 6'4". Jesus.
Yeah, he throws well, and so like that's a scenario where they could do that because they have Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock down at AAA as starters. They tried to convert Logan Evans last year as a reliever, and it just didn't work for him. Didn't bounce back maybe as they wanted, and So I don't know. I mean, those are kind of the main guys. I was looking at the non-roster invites. I don't really know a lot of these guys.
What about that Hunter Cranton?
Oh, so he was drafted as a reliever. He was a reliever at Illinois,
okay.
And so I mean, he is. I mean, like they honestly thought last year that he was so advanced, and because he was a reliever and because he was built up, like they thought maybe he could even push his way into something last year just because he was that advanced. So I'll be interested to see kind of where he's at, but he's a guy that is a reliever, has experience, and I think they believe he could probably come in. There's another guy named, I think it's Daris Valdez. He was a guy that they picked up from the Phillies. Guy throws like 100. Again, doesn't necessarily know where it's going, but that's kind of that happens with some guys. They have some guys like that. It's the same thing with Carlos Vargas, who they got in the Suarez trade. The last remaining remnants of the Suarez trade. He throws hard, but he just doesn't throw enough strikes. I mean, the selling point for these guys will be, do they throw enough strikes to make it? Because they're not. I mean, this pitching lab and the Dan Wilson in general, they're just not going to put up with walks from relievers. That's just not what they want.
Hey, what do you when the MLB.com did that story, Divish, about the home road splits with the offense and the numbers are so vastly different and all that. One of the things that stood out to a lot of people were the and you didn't need that story to point it out, but it just did. The home road splits of Munoz. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, it's pretty drastic, the difference between what he does at home compared to what he does on the road last year. At home, he had a 0.28 ERA. On the road, it was a 4.28. What factors go into that for him? Why did it affect him more than it affected other pitchers?
I didn't look at it closely enough to sit there and say, but situationally, when you're at home, it's a little different because you're coming in and you're coming they're not using Munoz very often unless they have a lead at home or it's tied. We're on the road, you can pitch Munoz if you're down one or something like that. And I'm not a big believer in the mentality of the save, non-save situation thing. I think that's overblown. I just think that some of the times they used them on the road were situations where it could balloon up more. Whereas when they used them at home, it was a pretty set situation for him to have success. So he did give up some homers on the road. There were a couple. I can't remember, it was one in Milwaukee maybe or something like that. He had a blow up there, and that was when his back was an issue. But no, I don't make a ton of that. I mean, maybe the contact is a little harder. You do get punished a little bit more. But I think for him, usually it's a command issue. When he doesn't command, he might walk a guy or two or fall behind, and that's when he gets hit. And he puts himself in more predictable situations. But I didn't think that there was any one thing that was that drastic. Whereas with a starter where you have that many more innings, with Brian Wu and Bryce Miller, I do feel and even George Kirby and these guys, I do feel when they're at home, they feel, and I'm sure in Munoz's mind too, you feel you can challenge guys more because you won't get punished. And so, and you don't. And then whereas on the road, you might try to be a little more fine with your command, and that you have a miss here, or you miss there, and all of a sudden you're 2-0 or 3-1, and it doesn't matter where you're pitching at. You can give up damage that way. So I think there is that mentality or freedom of pitching at home, but I think it's more indicative for starters than it is for relievers.
And your latest preview up at SeattleTimes.com, you looked at the starting rotation, the headline being, can the M starting rotation stay elite in 2025? I'll ask you the question your editor posted there on the headline. Can they stay elite in 2025?
If they can stay healthy, they can stay elite. That's the separator. I mean, they used 7 starting pitchers last year. That just doesn't happen. I mean, 5 of them made, 140 some of the 162 starts. Emerson Hancock made 12 starts. I mean, they used 6 pitchers because Jonathan Diaz.
He pitched 1, right?
Pitched 1. And so, it's okay, well.
That's amazing.
Does that, and if you look at the overall usage, Logan Gilbert's over 200 innings. George Kirby's back-to-back seasons with 190 innings pitched. Bryce Miller bumped up his season his overall usage by 50 innings, Brian Wu up by 35 innings. Does that, portend to injuries like, fatigue injuries, usage injuries? Do we see a stint where somebody gets a soggy shoulder or something like that? You don't know. And that's
soggy shoulder.
But that's the thing is like, and really the Mariners are in a position where they can withstand an injury for a little while. Like Emerson Hancock is a solid pitcher. He's not on the level of any of those five right now. And Logan Evans has the potential to be, but he's never pitched. So, you lose one of those guys for a month, or you lose a guy, you have two of them out at the same time. That's a problem, because this offense isn't, we don't know, but as of now, isn't good enough to withstand maybe that sort of absence. So that's the thing. If they can keep them healthy, and like the Mariners do a really good job with keeping pitchers healthy and like all their arm care, and Logan Gilbert does all this training to avoid injury. But at the same time, throwing a baseball is an unnatural act, and at some point, it takes its toll, the amount of pitches. So, it's crazy. They used 7 starters last year, and those 7 starters logged more innings as a rotation than any other staff in baseball. That's 94 quality starts. In an era where pitchers usually go 5 and dive, and very few pitchers, get to that 200 innings threshold. Logan Gilbert got there. George Kirby was 10 or I think 7 away. Bryce Miller's at 180. Luis Castillo would have been close to 100 if he didn't have the 200 if he didn't have the hamstring strain. I think that's the issue. And like Brian Wu has had a history of having nagging things come up for him. They think that changing his routines in between starts will be more beneficial to keeping him on the field. But you just don't know. Like, that's the thing is, like, I think there's always that uneasiness with pitchers. Like, when is it going to happen to them? Because it's rare that it doesn't.
I'm sure you're going to catch up with Brian Wu. That's something I wanted to ask you. Obviously being down there in spring training to get a vibe about, how his offseason was. What is he doing differently? Because that will be one of the bigger question marks is, can he stay healthy? Can he have a full season where he provides just, every 5th day, just a great turn in the rotation? I mean, he had a fabulous season last year. I mean, 121 plus innings. He went 9-3 at ERA of 2.89. But again, and it seemed like he maybe got through a little bit of that nagging stuff. But again, it took him in the beginning of the season to kind of get over that hump. And I think there was a famous talk. Was it Cal that gave him the talk in Boston? I think when you and I talked last
Cal
season. Yeah. Kind of a coming to Jesus moment with him.
Yeah. Just kind of about who you are and how do you want to, like what are the expectations or what do you need to do to get to the next level that Bryce and those other guys did. I mean, like, that's the thing. If they were able to get, if you can get a combined, so let's say that Gilbert, Kirby, and Castillo give you 30 starts as your 1, 2, and 3, like 30 starts roughly, and you get 25 minimum from Bryce and Brian, so that's 140 starts. You get 140 starts from those guys, that's pretty solid. You'll be happy with that. If you get anything more than 140 starts from those 5 guys combined, they'll have success just because those guys are that good. I just, like, those guys continue, and this is what I wrote about. It's like the X factor and all of this. These guys and their continuous search to improve and their willingness to adjust grips, to change their thinking on pitches, to modify stuff throughout the season and continually adapt to what hitters are doing is what separates them. I mean, like, there's a lot of guys that throw hard and can throw a lot of pitches, but the mentality that these guys have to kind of continually adjust who they are as a pitcher is what makes them great. And I think that's what could separate them. If they get, like I said, the 150 starts from those guys, or 145 starts from those 5 guys, they'll win 85 games minimum, because that's what happened last year. Yeah. And we won't. And as little as they did this offseason, I don't think the offense will be as bad as it was last year.
Well, the one thing that you love about those 5 guys in particular, and you kind of touched on it there a little bit, is that they have this drive and this desire not to be complacent. to always try. And I mean, I know a lot of athletes are like this, but this group in particular, like they're always looking for the next. How can we get better? What can we do to improve on our pitching arsenal, which is already great anyways, but how do we get better? That's something that's just that you hear those guys talk to you guys that you love to hear all the time. Just never being complacent to the stuff that they already have and the desire to learn and develop more.
Yeah, I mean, like it's
the anti-us.
Yeah. So it's I mean, it's just it's a craft, pitching is a craft, and they're continuing to hone their craft and be better. I mean, like you saw Bryce Miller posting videos of him throwing a cutter at 90 miles an hour, and just that boring in action on the hands, like, what that could do for him against lefties as well as righties, like just another weapon. I mean, like I had a scout for, I don't know, it was must have been the Rays or somebody asked me, he's like, does every one of the Mariners pitchers throw like 7 different pitches and all like can perform? I was like, well, they don't continue to stop. They don't look at it and just say, these are my 4 pitches, I'm not going to do anything different. Like that mentality. And I think at this point too, with technology and the way you can measure it and everything else, like you can see if a pitch is viable through the data, like the TrackMan software and stuff. How much is it moving? How much is the spinning? Is it really viable based on metrics for other pitchers' success? It's not just a catcher telling you, oh man, that looks great. No, like you have real input as to whether a pitch will be useful or not. And these guys have all grown up around it, and they're continually using it to improve themselves. And I think, the Mariners for a while had the market inefficiency because they were really good at that. But you saw like the Royals got a pitching guy last year that helped change some stuff. Everybody's starting to get these guys. Hell, you look at these college teams and their pitching labs, they got like 4 coaches and all these analysts and all these different things. So that's what everybody does. But the Mariners, you can have the best pitching lab in the world and all that stuff, but if you don't have players that don't embrace like change and different thinking and getting out of their comfort zone to have success, then it won't work, And now that's the thing, is like, how do you get hitters to do that? Because it's so different for pitchers, because you have these standards and stuff set based on like the data and the efficiency with your mechanics. But with hitters, it's still so different.
That would be my cue to come back on. I was dicking around. Big thanks to Ryan Divish. And again, that was the abbreviated version there of Divish. My apologies. I'm working on something else, and I'm trying to multitask, which is a terrible thing to do. Good discussion there with Ryan just about the overall health of the bullpen heading into 2025, which is, again, as we discussed there, it's a big question mark. I mean, they've got talented players, and we've talked about it a lot. We talked about it even more in greater length because the entire podcast with Divish is 50 minutes long. And again, to get the entire podcast, both video and audio, sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. $5 a month gets you that. It includes just not only Divish, but everything that we do here at Puck Sports, the entire operation, and bonus content that we do for pucksports.com. But the entire 50-minute podcast with Divish available to members, $5 a month, and again the discount if you sign up for a year. We do both audio and video. Best place to go, pucksports.com, top of the website. We'll take you there to sign up to the membership page, and then also the QR code on your screen if you're watching right now will take you there as well. But again, Munoz, we know what he can provide. We know what Matt Brash can provide. But I think there's worries. There has to be worries with Matt Brash. He's coming off Tommy John surgery, and when he comes back 3rd week of April, as Divish talked about there, no, I mean, what's he going to be like? How hard are they going to push him? Who knows? I have zero idea. I mean, when Gregory Santos is on, he's electric. Gregory Santos pitched in 8 games last year. I have no clue what Gregory Santos is going to provide. They said that he's come back healthy. Okay, well, let's see it. And then I just think there's a lot of wild cards in that bullpen. And I thought Adam Jude did a terrific job at Seattle Times today. SeattleTimes.com. Go check it out. Of detailing just how much this team lives on the edges the last few years. One-run games. And a lot of that comes down to, like, how is your bullpen going to maintain that lead after your starters have given it to you? Because they will once again walk on the razor's edge, that knife edge this season because of their offense. And they're going to be in so many of these one-run games. In the last 2 years, they've been 2 games under 500 combined in one-run games. And as Jude pointed out in the paper today, when they went last time when they went to the playoffs, but 3 years ago, I mean, they were 34-20 in those games. That was the biggest difference why they've missed out is their inability to close out in those one-run games in the last 2 years, and they've missed the playoffs each of the last 2 years by one game. I mean, that's how close this is for them. So, yeah, I mean, we can talk about the Donovan Solanos and Jorge Polanco's and the offense, and again, they didn't do enough offensively. I think it's fair to ask whether or not they've done enough in their bullpen. What you hang your hat on, and by the way, it's a good-looking hat. Ballard High School right there, Ballard Beavers. Shout out head coach Doug for that. God, it's a good-looking hat. Go Beavs. Is you give them credit, tip of the cap, for how they've always managed their bullpen, because they've always done a good job with it. They've always found guys who have been cast out and been cast aside, and they've always been able to find that. But sometimes that can run out. So we'll see how they address that as the season goes on. All right, before we wrap it up, and again, one more time, full show of the Ryan Divish podcast. Puck's Posse members, join today, pucksports.com. You get the full 50-minute video and audio there as for the Ryan Divish show. We will post the 20 minutes of it up on YouTube there as well, of the free version. And so you can watch it later if you came in late. Again, when you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It all helps the cause. And when you're on the podcast platforms, please always leave a rating and a review. All right, Hey, What the Puck is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services, locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to Trent and everyone over there at Restoration One for being a proud sponsor of Puck Sports. I'm a sucker. I'm a freaking sucker. And every year I know this is going to happen. And I don't think it makes me a hypocrite. I don't think it makes me a bad guy. I think sports fans are hypocrites all the time. I mentioned this earlier with Jim. I'm a sucker because I love the sport of baseball. And when I'm seeing the video yesterday of Cal Raleigh taking swings inside the batting cage as I'm watching King 5, watching Paul Sylvie give me the sports yesterday, I'm just like, oh my God. I'm in. I'm in again. I can't help it. I'm a sucker. I know. Many of you are just, I'm not watching them. I'm not going to talk about them. I hate them, and I'm not going to give them my money, and yada, yada, yada. And I get it. Understand. I share all your anger and your frustration with them. I just love the sport. I love the sport, and God, they're ours, and it's just frustrating, and they're our team, and damn it, you can't just pick a new team, right? They're ours, and we've got to go through it, and we've got to weather the shittiness that comes along with all their issues. But I do get excited. February 12th, this day arrives every year, and it's not just the sport itself. It's just the transitioning from football to baseball, which I like. I enjoy the different sports. I enjoy the different seasons and all of it. And I certainly enjoy this sport. And, God, my final year of Little League coaching and that starting up. So it's just all of it happening at once. And I just know that at some point the better weather is close. It's closer than not. But the sport itself, whatever it in stores this year, whatever they do, you'll watch. We'll celebrate, we'll get excited, we'll yell, we'll scream, we'll pull our hair out probably this year. But here's the thing, we'll all do it as one collective group. And that's what makes it awesome. And then at times not awesome being a Mariners baseball fan. But I am a sucker, and I know. At least I admit it. At least I admit I'm a sucker. All right. Hey, What the Puck? Again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. It is locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages do affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online. Restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Thank you for all those watching and listening today. Thank you to all our sponsors. Puck Sports Studios, built by Limbeck Lumber. Thank you to Limbeck Lumber. Thank you to Hartley and Hartley Insurance. Also, Zogs on Fox Island there as well. Actually, that's coming up tomorrow because that's Mike Garofolo. I'm thinking because I'm going to tape Mike Garofolo later. Thank you to Superior Linen Service for Rob Staton. I'm all off today. Thank you to Chalet Bowl, Reggie Frederick, for bringing you Ryan Divish. Also, our yearly sponsors, Georgetown Brewery. Go check out their new tavern beer, please, at your local bar. And, of course, at georgetownbeer.com. Nice, easy drinking, local, domestic style lager. And, of course, Restoration One. Today's Daily Puck Drop. Up on YouTube. Please subscribe when you're up there on YouTube. Also, you can find the Daily Puck Drop on all your favorite podcast platforms. And, of course, always up at pucksports.com. And when you're at pucksports.com, please sign up to be a member of the Pucks Posse. Again, just $5 a month gets you Ryan Divish all season, the full Ryan Divish all season long, all baseball season long, and VIP and exclusive content starting next week. Our exclusive sit down with Dane Brugler from The Athletic covering the NFL draft. Check it out at pucksports.com. Hey, another reminder, and again, I don't like dwelling on this all the time. The next few Thursdays, well, actually, next Thursday will be a normal day. Tomorrow, not normal. Tomorrow will be taped. We will have a shorter show with Garofolo that will come out tomorrow. Also, a shorter podcast with Dugar that will come out tomorrow. You're wondering, hey, what's going on? I mentioned this a few weeks ago. My dog's really sick. My 13-year-old lab is really sick. She's got a pretty severe form of cancer that she is undergoing radiation treatment. There is only one place in our state that does radiation treatment, and that is the fine institution that is Washington State University and their vet clinic, their fabulous veterinary school over there. So for the next month, and I did it for last week as well, for the next month, I've got to travel over there once a week. So I leave on Wednesday evening, drive over there. Her appointments are Thursday morning. We take her there for radiations, lasts an hour, and then I drive back. Yeah, it's a lot, but whatever. You do what you do for your dogs, right? So that's why for the next few weeks, including last week and the next few weeks following, why Thursdays are interrupted. But then once we get through that, we'll be done. We'll be back to normal. So apologies for the interruption in the daily content, but rest assured, Dugar will be up tomorrow. Same with Mike Garofolo. All right, we will talk to you live again on Friday. Until then, as always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!